Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new Chanel video and a dragging video. It's been hard to get Chanel info lately. I think they've been shutting down a lot of people on Instagram, but hopefully I'll have a Chanel 23K video coming soon. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. The first location is the Chanel boutique in Washington DC in America. Front door staff were friendly, but the floor's essays were incredibly rude. I asked about a specific tweed tote bag, which was met with that's old comment, even though that style of bag, and then she names the the Chanel 22, albeit in leather, was literally hanging on every wall of the boutique. And it's not old, it's literally listed on the site under their pre-spring collection. Just because I don't dress like I'm insecure and have something to prove with flashy and trashy designer labels imprinted on every single thing, girl, relax, okay? Calm down. Doesn't mean I should be spoken to and treated with disrespect. I just wanted to check out the bag so I could I wanted so I could purchase it. Sucks for this store. I went ahead and got a Gucci bag down the street instead because their salespeople are so much classy and happier to assist. Save your time and stay away from this place. Okay, so a few things that I don't really understand about dragging reviews, and this is one of them, right? Something which I don't get about dragging reviews is trying to kind of one-up the man, as it were, by like, if you have a really bad experience and you're gonna one-up the man and one-up the brand by going to another brand to buy something else. I'm the kind of person where if I'm in the market for something from Louis Vuitton, only Louis Vuitton will suffice. If I'm in the market for something from Versace, only Versace in that moment will suffice. And if it's a bad experience at that store, I'll just go, assuming I'm in America, obviously, because there are lots of Versaces, or Europe, I would just go to another boutique to look from that brand. I mean, I'm a Gucci girl, honey. I love big Gucci, but I mean, you not buying that Chanel 22 is not going to affect the Chanel boutique in Washington, DC, not for 1 minute. And also, this person's a bit of a hypocrite. You're saying just because you don't dress like you're insecure and have something to prove. So that means you knew you looked raggedy boo-boo. You knew you looked a hot raggedy mess with flashy and trashy designer labels. But Big C is the queen of logos, honey. She's the queen of designer labels. So that makes you hypocrite, no? Tell me what you think about this one. The next story is also from the Washington DC boutique. I expected better service at a boutique like this. The SA, I didn't get her name, was very unfriendly and rude and almost offensive. I'm sure they can tell a difference between who's going to make a purchase today or not. Yeah, but shouldn't all customers be treated the same? Ooh, girl. I came to browse for a gift for my mum and I had a couple of items in mind. One of the first things the SA asked was if I owned a Chanel bag and what model it was. I just told her it was a small black bag and she kept asking what model and stating we have many black bags, so you need to be more specific. She kept rolling her eyes as if I was lying and making snarky comments. I'm very disgusted by the lack of professionalism and treatment. Will never be returning to this location. This story, when I first read this review, the feeling that I got was this person wasn't buying today, they were just browsing. And the question about the Chanel bags, like do you own a Chanel bag and what bag is it? It's the SA testing the client, and the essays like asking questions to see if this client is worth their time. Because I think the giveaway here is, I'm sure they can tell the difference between who is going to make a purchase today or not, but shouldn't all customers be treated the same? I mean, you know, we've talked about this many times in dragging review videos. We have heated debates about this all of the time. I think I've made my views clear. Just to answer the question of the dragging review versus responding to the actual review itself. Obviously, everyone should be treated with respect, but people who spend more get better treatment, and that is the bottom line. And I think it's only fair that the best spenders get the best treatment. But obviously, you should be treated with kindness and be treated nicely. But they're not going to like close down the boutique for you because you walked in and you said you're going to buy a Chanel card holder or something. you know, so I don't know about that. I think this person felt insecure, and the essay could pick up on the fact that the client felt insecure and then just decided to drag them, which is unfortunate. The next boutique is Chanel Sydney in Australia, in Westfields. She names the essay, so I won't say the essay's name. The essay's salesmanship left much to be desired during my recent boutique visit 2 weeks ago. I went to the store with my partner and her mum. We were served by essay number 1, who was exceptionally lovely and helpful. However, when essay number 1, because he names them, briefly stepped away to pack the bags my partner and her mum had purchased, my partner had spotted a different bag she liked and wanted to know if the chain was adjustable. I approached essay number 2 to ask who seemed available at the time. She responded with surprising rudeness, stating that she wouldn't answer because she wasn't the one who was serving us. That's fair. I tried to understand that everyone can have a bad day, so I let it slide. Fast forward to today, we returned to the store, and unfortunately essay number 2 was assigned to assist us. Right from the start, she wore an angry expression on her face. While I wanted to remain understanding, her interactions with us were filled with rude replies and considerable attitude, as if she didn't want to help at all. On one occasion, my partner simply asked to see a white version of a particular bag that appeared to be on the shelf behind essay number 2. Instead of checking or assisting, essay number 2 dismissively responded with an eye roll, saying, "I have said that whatever's in front of you is all that is there, that is it." Her condescending tone and lack of willingness to accommodate simple requests were disappointing. Moreover, essay number 2's treatment of my partner's mum was entirely unacceptable, I beg your pardon. She showed little patience and respect whenever my partner's mum inquired about different bags. Throughout the whole interaction, not once did she manage to muster a smile. Needless to say, my partner's mum was so put off by essay number 2's attitude, we immediately decided to leave the store and head to another Chanel store. And there we found a much more pleasant shopping experience. And then he goes on to say, it's vital for essays to treat people with respect, kindness, and helpful demeanor, and unfortunately essay number 2 failed to live up to those expectations. Okay, so there are a few things, all right. Now, you know, I know some of you are going to be mad at me, but oh well, I don't care, okay? Because this story is indicative also of people not understanding the sort of like unspoken rules of luxury shopping. So like, most of you who watch, you all know the rules, so you don't need me to tell you, but there are people who are maybe luxury shopping and they don't know the rules. And one of the unspoken rules is that essays don't steal clients from one another. So essay number 2 could see that they were being helped the first time they went to the boutique by essay number 1, who was the one that the review writer said was really nice and friendly. So essay number 2 is like, okay, well, I'm not trying to talk to you. And that is definitely a thing. I noticed that in Paris as well. Like once, and it's crazy, you know, like I found that at all of the brands like Louis Vuitton, Big H, Dior, everywhere. The essays who work at luxury stores have an uncanny ability to know if you are being helped by someone else, and they will not approach you. I remember that was the experience that I also had at Louis Vuitton in Joburg in January. Once the essay was helping me, no other essay at any point approached me, even when she went to look for items that I was requesting and stuff, right? So when essay number 2 tells him, you know, saying, you know, when his partner asks, like, is the chain adjustable? And then he approaches to ask, and essay number 2 is like, oh, I can't answer because I'm not the one who served you. She could have said it nicer, but what she is saying is, she could have said something like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, essay number 1 is helping you, and she is the person who's helping you at this time. So let me tell essay number 1 that you want to know that. It's also a respect thing between luxury essays. It's my understanding luxury essays are very stringent on making sure they don't steal clients from each other. And I know it seems like oh, it was just a simple question, like an innocent question, like they're being really dramatic. No, not really. What if essay number 2 had answered the question and then the clients had just decided to move to essay number 2, and essay number 1 is the one who worked really hard to get the sale? It is a respect thing. She could have said it nicer though. She could have been much friendlier and nicer about it. Okay, now in the first day, okay, they had purchased bags, okay? They come back to the boutique another day and they see essay number 2 again, honey. I know essay number 2 is like, oh God, here they are again. And essay number 2, boo-boo, she wasn't there for their questions, honey, because she's remembering the first day they were there asking questions if the strap is adjustable. And then his partner asks, can she see a white version of a bag on a shelf behind essay number 2? And essay number 2 says, I've already told you whatever is in front of you is all that is there. That's it. So when his partner asks, is there a white version of the bag that is behind the shelf of essay number 2? This is on the next day or another day when they come. And essay number 2 is like, quote, I already said whatever is in front of you is all that is there. That's it. What essay number 2 is saying is, girl, you ask questions like, you asking a lot of questions. You're always asking questions. Like, first you asked, is of another bag, is it adjustable? Is the chain strap adjustable? Ask essay number 1 to do it. Okay. Now you're asking me, do you have a white version of this? Okay. I know you guys are gonna eat me up in the comments, but people ask a lot of questions in boutiques are really annoying. I remember when I had my store, like I would always tell my employees, like, you have to push people to buy. And I remember they would always complain about people who'd ask a lot of questions because they couldn't push the client to buy. Sometimes some people have a ton of questions and it can be quite exhausting for the SA to answer heaps and heaps and heaps of questions. Again, this essay number 2 could have been much friendlier and warmer about it. She could have just said, oh, I'm sorry, like, we don't have any colors available for this bag. Would you like to buy this one though? Like, she could have said something like that, you know, something a little bit friendlier, like, okay, you want another color? Would you like to buy it today? Like, are you buying, honey? Or are you just asking questions, okay, for your Chanel encyclopedia? Like, are you buying today, yes or no? Again, she could have been nicer. She sounds a bit grumpy and moany. And I remember when I first started filming these dragging videos, I'd always tell you guys, like, the Parisian dragging store is always funny because, like, people would always say how grumpy and moany the essays were in Paris. I feel like this essay is a bit grumpy and moany, but they shouldn't take it personally. It's not a personal attack on them. Tell me what you think about this one, and shout out to everyone in Australia. All right, the next one is from Chanel, 31 Rue Cambon, the mothership boutique for Chanel in Paris in France. This was done recently. In 2017, I purchased my first Chanel bag from the original store. The SA was so sweet and accommodating. She showed me around, took pictures. Okay, person goes on a rant about how incredible the first experience was. Since then, it's been my dream to bring my daughters through the same experience. My dream was about to come true. We had a family vacation. I tried to make an appointment through Chanel a month in advance. I was told there's nothing available. I was so excited for my girls. My daughter saved a long time for her bag. They looked forward to this day for months. Oh God, you know where this is going. Finally, the day arrived. We walked into the flagship boutique. We were immediately stopped by security and 2 employees. They wouldn't let us beyond the rope. We were told rudely there are no appointments available. My daughter thought the store was pretty, tried to take a picture. Security stopped her and told her no pictures were allowed. We left Chanel very disappointed and disheartened. Chanel left a bad taste in my mouth and made bad impressions on my daughters. Boo-boo! First of all, not you walking up. They walked up in there and the security and the SAs were like, arrête, let me stop you right there. And like, we were immediately stopped by security and 2 employees. They wouldn't let us stepped beyond the rope. We were rudely told there were no appointments available. Well, obviously you haven't, you know, made an appointment. And I just, okay. I don't know, guys, look, I think that this is unfortunate as well, because particularly when you like love a brand, you're like excited to go. They should have made an appointment. So I'm trying to think in terms of me. Like obviously I love Versace, I love Moschino. Their like flagships are in Milan in Italy. I would definitely ensure that my Moschino SA made an appointment for me. It's too risky to try and stumble there on your own. You could get skull dragged. Whereas if they make an appointment for you, they're not going to skull drag people with appointments. Same for Versace. If you make an appointment, they're not going to skull drag you. Whereas you rock up there, honey, particularly if your fit, your outfit isn't there. I think this experience is very unfortunate because she's with her children, with her daughters. You know, if I went with like my nieces or with my youngest sister who's like 17 now, I wouldn't want her to have like a painful, sad experience. But if I was going with my nieces or my younger sister, I would ensure that I made an appointment. And I think maybe what she should have done is got her SA in America to make an appointment for her, just to make sure that no one's feelings are hurt, you know, particularly young like teenagers or like, you know, someone who's very young. You know, you're sensitive when you're young, you know. I'm like, what now? I'm like 37-year-old vampire. I'm like no longer sensitive. I just don't care, don't give an F anymore. But when you're younger, things like that do hurt a little bit. So they could have been nicer about it. But I mean, I don't know what she thought she was doing by walking up in there like she has an appointment. Girl, bye, you don't have an appointment. So if you don't have one, you can stand in the queue with everyone else. Okay. The next one is also from 31 Rue Cambon. This was a translated one. I think this was originally in French or Italian. After 15 minutes of waiting for a fashion advisor just in order to ask a simple question, browsing around, we noticed all fashion advisors were free and very busy chatting to one another. We left the boutique. It was a very, very poor experience. This is not luxury. Okay, so this is something which we have chatted many times about, particularly in my dragging reviews, particularly when the dragging reviews are about Big C and Big LV. Big C and Big LV are, to me, whenever I read these dragging reviews, they claim it's one-to-one service. It is one-to-one service, but it's also an anti-browsing strategy. And that whole thing of making someone feel uncomfortable if they're not buying, you kind of feel a little bit weird because you're not buying. And I think another thing to understand is like the targets and the goals for sales, particularly for these like flagship stores, the targets and the goals for sales must be phenomenally intense. The idea that the SA can give you this luxurious experience and, you know, offer you champagne and offer you water and offer you macaroons and you're not buying anything, you just want to ask a question. I'm sorry, that is just not rooted in reality. Shampoos and macaroons are for people who are buying or who look like they are going to spend quite a bit of money, and that is just the way I see it. Okay, so again, not great, but I don't see why you would go to Cambon to ask a question. Chanel have a customer service line. Why don't you call the customer service line? To me, it's just, you're just stressing yourself out. I wouldn't go to 31 Rue Cambon unless I was buying something. And I wouldn't go to ask a question and like try and go through those queues and queue and waste hours of my life queuing to ask a question. That doesn't make any sense. Even though here they're saying they waited for 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes that you still could have been at Galerie Lafayette, you know, looking at other items, or you could have been somewhere else doing something else. That's fun. That's just me. Tell me what you think. The next one is also from the 31 Rue Cambon in Paris. I happened to be in Paris and decided to stop by Chanel. There were 10 people outside, but I thought the queue will go fast. After waiting 1.5 hours outside, because after 45 minutes, you can quit. You can quit if you want to. When we were waiting outside, there were people coming in cars and being escorted to the boutique. They all happened to have an appointment. Once we got inside, we were informed it's a 2-hour wait for the SA. We can browse around, but no one will be able to help. Wow, okay. I didn't want to waste my time like that, so I was just looking for shoes. And I asked, do they have these specific shoes? She says, I don't know. And I said, wow, okay. I turned away. Well, hold on, wait. I said, wow, okay. And I turned away to leave. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to deal with people like this. So later in 2 months, my husband and I went to Las Vegas and I bought them in Vegas. No waiting times, no waiting in the boutique, so simple and fast with great service. Okay, so a few things about this one. I'm going, by the way, the Paris guide is coming soon when I go to Paris, so make sure you sign up below. But you can like hire these like black car services where like a chauffeur drives you around like to, you know, like ritzy luxury stores and takes you around for the day. So there are people who hire these like chauffeur driven black car services. You see many of them turn up at Faubourg and Sèvres and George Cinq. And of course, you know, Chanel and Louis Vuitton, and people just roll up in a car and come out and they, you know, enter the place, presumably because they have, you know, appointments. So when she says here, like, when they were waiting, they saw people coming up in cars being escorted inside. They all happened to have an appointment. They probably did have an appointment, or they're Chanel VVVIP clients who are known to 31 Rue Cambon, in which case, like, I'm sorry, do you seriously think someone who spends like 500K, 400K, 300K a year in euros, dollars, pounds, do you think that person is going to be standing outside even if they didn't have an appointment? If that person turns up to Cambon and Cambon knows who that person is entering the store, and that is a fact, and we know that. So, you know, the person doesn't sound like they're angry about it, but they're just like, oh, they happen to have an appointment. They probably did have an appointment, or if they didn't, they're very well known to the brand. So that's just how luxury brands are, and we know that. And then she you know, was told it's a 2-hour wait, and you know, she's looking for shoes, and do you have these specific shoes? I think if you are looking for something super specific, you should go to Printemps or Galeries Lafayette for Chanel. I think that is just going to be much less stressful, because when I went to Printemps and Galeries Lafayette, I noticed like the queues are just not as long as the 31 Cambon queues are said to be, and even the Avenue Montaigne situation, depending on what day you go, can be crazy depending. Some of you were telling me, oh, it's not as bad as it was like early on in the year, but I still think Printemps and Galeries Lafayette would probably be better, like particularly if you're just looking for like shoes, or you just want like a card holder. Like, why waste like 3-4 hours of queuing at 31 Cambon? Of course people want to get like the packaging, the beautiful iconic white packaging, you know, because it's obviously the flagship boutique for Big C. But to me it just sounds like to me Cambon sounds stressful if you're not spending money, like significant sums. Like, I would go to Cambon only if I'm spending like more than 1,000 euros. Like, I wouldn't go to Cambon just to buy like a card holder or something, because to me just all the things sound super stressful. I'm not saying people can't, I'm just saying what I would do, because all the people who sound like they're buying one thing sound like they're so stressed, like the experience is like a horrible stressful experience, and they're kind of not treated well. There was someone else who wrote a review in German, and I read the translation, and they were saying how they hadn't been offered any drinks at Cambon, and they felt like bad. You know, the champagne police, honey. They felt bad, you know, they didn't get offered anything, and they were about to leave, and then that's when like another essay was like, oh, I'm sorry, let me help you, and they were like, we want something to drink, okay? Like, we demand drinks right now. And then they were offered champagne and stuff. So look guys, look, you know how I feel about this. These dragging reviews have taken on a life of their own. These dragging videos have taken on a life of their own. I'm not going to apologize for my opinion, okay? You are entitled to yours. I've told you guys before many times, I think that there are these like culture clashes in a lot of the European like shopping experiences. I hope to share more dragging reviews from the boutiques in Singapore and Thailand. A lot of the reviews of the Chanel in Singapore, I believe at the Marina Bay Sands as well. I'll feature them very soon, but I was like reading one today, and someone was saying how, you know, they were looked down on because they didn't have a nice outfit, and they themselves knew that they weren't dressed like nicely, so they weren't even surprised that they got their skull dragged. I just don't know about going to like, I don't know about queuing for 3-4 hours to enter Cambon to buy something small, because I feel like it would, to me, I am stressed just thinking about that. I would, if I was trying to get a card holder or something, I'd maybe pass by like Galeries Lafayette or Printemps. like, I think if you're buying a bag, by all means go to Cambon, or even, yeah, wallet on a chain or a bag or prêt-à-porter. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that one as well. But Cambon sounds stressful. I think my favorite dragging review from today is the one from Sydney in Australia. I don't know. To me, the person who wrote the review talking about his girlfriend, his partner, and his partner's mum. You know, I've already told you before, groups are horrible. Anyone who's worked retail hates groups. When I had my store, we also hated groups. You know, anyone more than 2 people is a group. Like the gentleman, his girlfriend, and his, you know, his girlfriend's mother. Like, it's a lot for the SA to deal with, and to try and like placate and please 3 people. She could have been way nicer and not been as snarky when she was speaking to them, but it's a lot. And if you have worked retail or you've had your own store, you know what I mean when I say it's intense on the person who's dealing with them, especially because they're trying to give one-to-one service. You can't give one-to-one service, you know, in a group. And I think also another thing is like asking a ton of questions. Questions are not bad. Whenever I go shopping, I ask SAs a lot of questions, but I'm always asking questions in the midst of picking up items. So I'll be like, oh, can you talk to me about this and this? By the way, I want to buy that as well. Can you tell me about this? By the way, I want to get this as well. Versus just like, can you do this? Can you show me that? Can you do this? Can you? In that example, they had actually purchased previously, and they had bought bags with SA number 1, if you remember in the Sydney story. But SA number 2, I think, is feeling like, okay, well, you're giving SA number, I think this is what happened with the Sydney story. Beg your pardon. I think SA number 1 got the sales from that first day of the bags. So SA number 2 is like, why are you like asking me like questions like ask SA number 1? And then they come back another day and then they're still asking more questions, but maybe they're not picking other things up. So the SA number 2 maybe feels like I'm not really selling anything and all I'm doing is just answering questions over and over again. Let me know what you think about this one. It's a controversial one. I know we're gonna tussle about it in the comments, honey. And I'm kind of here for it, so let's tussle. But be kind in the comments. I don't care if you don't agree with me, just be kind, because I'm curious to know what you guys think, but just be nice about it if you disagree. And yeah, you let me know what you think. I mean, just to quickly go back to Paris, I hope I haven't offended anyone. I'm not saying you can't go to Cambon to buy something small. I go all the time to buy small things, but I don't expect them to lay down the red carpet for me if I'm buying something really small. And also, I don't know if I could put myself through queuing an hour and a half and then waiting another 2 hours inside Cambon to buy shoes, when you could literally in Printemps and in Galeries Lafayette, they have beautiful Chanel concessions. They're literally there. I'm wondering, do people know this, or do people want that Cambon treatment? Like if I only wanted to buy shoes, I would absolutely just go to Printemps or Galeries Lafayette, you know, and just take the stress away. You get the Chanel packaging and everything. You get the, you know, you don't get the Cambon packaging, but you get the black and white Chanel packaging. So you still get that Chanel experience, and it probably would have been less stressful for that particular individual. And she first waited an hour and a half, then she waits another 2 hours. That's 3.5 hours to buy a pair of shoes. To me, that's just like a massive stress. To me, I would be so stressed, I'd be really upset and unhappy, and it would be stressing me out. So I'd love to know what you think about that story as well. Tell me what you think about the dragging reviews. Are there any other brands I should cover? What did you guys think of the Dior one as well? Let me know. Look, you guys, people can go do whatever they want. But I think that these brands have made it like super clear to me and to you and to all of us that they want people to spend a lot per transaction. So like I said, there's nothing wrong. I just want to be very clear. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me, because some of you don't like I was noticing in some of the dragging reviews, I'll like say something and people don't like, even people just twist something I've said and say I said something else and I didn't. I think it's completely fine to go in and buy one small thing. I do it all of the time. but I also don't expect them to lay out the red carpet for me if I'm only buying one thing, and I'm completely fine waiting my turn in the queue, however long it may be. That said, I've never waited in a Louis Vuitton queue for an hour and a half. I've never waited inside Louis Vuitton for 2 hours before seeing someone at any Louis Vuitton, not even the Champs-Élysées Maison. So I don't know if I could do that just to get a pair of shoes when you could go to Printemps or Galeries Lafayette. But then maybe people don't know, so hopefully the guide will also help with that information. So I really hope you guys like all of my content. Please consider subscribing to my channel. My husband was like, you can't say when we're going to South Africa, but the trip is booked, so it's coming up imminently. You will see me in South Africa any day now. So of course I will go shopping, and I will update you on the things that are there. There's no Chanel fashion in South Africa, but they have a beauty boutique. So I've been looking at Chanel beauty items I want to buy. I will definitely have a luxury haul video because there's some things which I want to get when I go shopping in SA. So if you like that content, and also my tea vlog, who's going to watch my Joburg tea vlog? Comment below. So if you like travel vlogs and things like that, I think you'll really like it. So make sure you're fully subscribed and hit notifications. That's the most important thing. That way you'll be notified once I'm in Joburg. You'll be notified, and then you'll get the video. And I'm not getting Skuldrug honey in Johannesburg. I'm going to contact my Louis Vuitton CA. And like I said, with me, I am very respectful of people's time. If I'm not spending a lot of money per transaction, I don't expect champagne or whatever, and I don't expect the person to run after me. If I'm spending a lot of money in a transaction, yes, I'd like you to be nice to me. But a lot of the people in these dragging reviews are not spending a ton per transaction, but they're still upset and angry. So I think this is just a cultural thing. And something else which I wanted to talk about just super quick before I go is like South Africa, obviously, being that it's part of Africa, it's a different country to Tanzania, but in African culture, like someone who would go to the Santon City Louis Vuittons or Cartier or Bulgari or big Gucci boutiques or even Versace to just look around and not buy anything, that is not who we are. We're not like, we don't browse without the intention of buying. And I think it's because culturally in African culture, it would appear to the SA like this person is just trying to think that they're important, to look around in these like really beautiful high-end stores, but they don't have anything to buy today, or maybe they have zero plans of buying today and zero plans of buying in the future. Whereas in the West, someone coming to browse is completely normal. And many of you in America and Canada have told me like it's completely normal to browse because maybe you'll come back next week. I feel like the boutiques in Santon City, it's just a different kind of vibe. And to me, even here in Dar, in like really high-end stores, people wouldn't go to a very high-end store in Dar es Salaam to look around. Like people wouldn't do that. People would only go if they're buying today. So I feel like in Africa, it's also about maintaining one's image and one's face, if that makes sense. And I think that there are similar concepts as well, I believe in China and in Asia, about maintaining your face and your image and perception. So the perception would be, oh, this person's coming to look around at luxury stores in Santon at the Diamond Walk, but they're not buying anything. Like, girl, bye, you know you don't have any money to buy anything, so why are you, pretending? That's kind of the way it would be seen here. So I think whenever I give the advice, I'm coming from an African perspective. So by all means, follow the things that is relevant to your culture. There's no wrong thing when it pertains to culture. All culture is valid and applicable and okay. So in America and Canada, it's completely fine to browse and not buy anything that day. That's absolutely fine. But in our cultures here, I think someone coming in just to browse, just to look around, like the image they would give to that person is like, oh, this person, and particularly because like also in Africa, like the luxury scene is much smaller. So you wouldn't want to create a reputation for yourself like in the luxury boutiques in Johannesburg as someone who just looks and never buys. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I don't offend or upset anyone, but I need to bring back some of my, my kind of unfiltered views back. I don't want to make people upset, but I just want to explain the cultural nuances. Every culture is different, and does things differently as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the weekend in my next video.